Hello, I'm making a short video on how to use the Lee Lodal shotgun cartridge press. I've made thousands of cartridges with this. It's great. I can't believe how cheap it is. You can pick them up for around about, I don't know, £70–80 on the internet. What I've done in the past is I've bought some cartridges which have already got primers fitted, so these are brand new with a primer. I've also got some which are used, so you've obviously got the primers being used there, and you can reload these cartridges. Depending on the type of plastic and the make, some you can only really use once, others you can use a number of times, but the thing to check if they have been used is that there's no splits. Where it's been crimped before, if there are any splits in any of those, it won't work properly. You need to check for that. If there aren't any splits, you can generally reload them and they'll look good. They'll be absolutely fine. But what I'm going to show you is how the first part of the press, which is the deprimer, works, so that you can see. And for the following cartridges, because mine have already got primers in and they're brand new, then I'll skip that step. But assuming you're reusing used cartridges, the primer's in there, so you slip this collar over the top with the groove at the top. And the first stage of the press, and you can see I've got the powder in here, I've got the shot in there, and that's 7.5 shot for clays. And the first stage is basically to remove the old primer. So that pushes down, and you can hear the primer pop out. You've now got the hole where the primer goes, and you would put a new primer into this bit here facing that way up, so that would just drop into there, so you can assume I've done that. And the next stage will actually push the new primer up into the cartridge and we'll remove that collar. So that collar now goes to one side, so you've now got a deprimed cartridge which has now got a new primer in it. But for the rest, what I'm going to use is the primed new case that I've got. Inside here, you've got a number of bushings, or you can choose bushings from this tray on the top, and it varies the amount of powder and shot that you're putting into each cartridge. You obviously need to be careful that you're not going to overdo it and make something that's unsafe. So once you've got your new primer in there, you slide the cartridge into this part here, pull the press down, and as you slide that across, it will drop a measured amount of powder into the bottom of the cartridge. I've then got waxed over powder cards. Pull that down and it pushes the card down on top of the powder. I've then got a fibre wad. You can use plastic wads as well. That wad goes down. And what I've found is that for this length of cartridge, 2 3mm cork fillers bring the shot column up to the right height. If you don't get that right, what you'll find is that the cartridge won't crimp properly. So by the time you've added the powder, the over powder cards, the wad and the filler, if the shot column is too short, the top of the crimp will cave in and the shot will spill out. If it's too tall, then the cartridge won't crimp enough and it'll still be open at the top, and again the shot will fall out. So it's quite important that you get the shot column the right height. Once you've got that, they will crimp beautifully and you won't have any problems at all. So I've now got my powder, I've got the new primer, I've got the powder, I've got the overshot card, I've got the fibre wad, and I've got my cork fillers. Now you can get thicker ones or thinner ones, or some people will maybe use 2 of these. It really doesn't matter particularly. Some people use cardboard or whatever. As long as your shot column is the right height, you won't have any issues. So we're now ready for the shot. So we pull this back down, move it across, and it's now dispensed the shot into the cartridge. That comes out of there. You can actually see the shot in the top, and the next stage here is the pre-crimp. So when I pull that down, you'll see that it starts to crimp the cartridge. You can put it into the end one, give it a good tug down. Sometimes it needs a bit more, and now there we go. We've got a cartridge which is the right shot height. The top of the cartridge is flat, it's not caved in, it's not domed, and that's ready to go. So what I'll do now is I'll just do another one without too much talking and just show you how quickly you can do it once you've assumed that I've done the primer, put the new primer in. So down it comes, the powder goes in, shock over powder card, there's the wad, there's the filler card and another one, shock goes in, and then we've got a pre-crimp and then the full crimp, and there we have it, a new cartridge, and it's that quick.